Even the gods are depicted in very relaxed human poses. This terracotta statuette from the 4th century BC looks like an ordinary woman with a child. But it is actually meant to represent the goddess Aphrodite playing with her son Eros. The creators of terracotta were called sculptors of women. Many of them were influenced by the images of the Greek sculptor Praxiteles. His work emphasized lyricism and an earthy, sensual quality. The statuettes give an amazingly detailed account of the clothing and hairstyles of ancient Greek women. They were made in molds of fine clay. The surface was coated with a watery wash of clay and then painted with mineral dyes. Some details, such as jewelry, were touched with gilding. Daily life was the subject. Women were depicted in solitary, intimate activities. The statuettes usually are called Tanagra statuettes, after the town where they originated. Although statuettes were made elsewhere, the Tanagra craftsmen were considered the best. They stood out not only in artistic quality, but in their higher technical standards. Some of the parts were cast in molds. When the mold parts were trimmed to remove the marks of the mold, the rest of the statuette would be carved by hand. When the sculpting was complete, they were dried for a period of time, painted, and then baked. The sculptors could produce these figurines in great quantity, and many copies were made. This way, many could own a piece of great artwork they could not otherwise be able to afford. In spite of the incredible artistic and intellectual energy, the Greek civilization was not destined to last forever. Ancient Greece never was actually one nation, but a collection of city-states, each of which retained its fierce independence. They shared the bond of Greek language and culture, but chronic warfare between the city-states sapped the military power of Greece. From the Trojan Wars to the constant rivalry between Athens and Sparta, domestic battles took their toll. In the fateful year 146 BC, the Roman war machine sacked Carthage and Corinth and brought the entire Greek region under its domination. Jupiter was the supreme god of ancient Rome. By the 2nd century AD, Rome would rule all of Europe up to the borders of Scotland and also the Near East, Egypt, and North Africa. In this statue, Jupiter holds the goddess Victory in one hand, and in the other, a scepter, the symbol of power over the whole world. But in spite of Rome's victory, the Roman conqueror became a prisoner of Greek culture. Greek intellectuals and craftsmen may have been taken as slaves, but they brought the Greek spirit to Rome. Rome kept alive Greek culture by following in the footsteps of Greek art and architecture, and by making direct copies of many artworks. Idealistic Greek images gave way to visions of Roman power. Portraits of the grief of conquered peoples were testimonials to that power. The head of a Dacian captive dates from the 2nd century AD. The many Roman copies of Greek works at first led some to believe that Rome's only contribution to art was to preserve and spread Greek culture. But this imperialistic and powerful nation actually used Greek forms and technical skills to create a body of artwork that reflected its own treasured concepts: power, the state, and law. Idealized images such as this goddess still were created. But what was Roman can be seen in portraiture. Suspicion and fear knit the brows of the Emperor Philip the Arabian, reflecting the troubled times of the declining empire in the 3rd century AD. Philip, a soldier, took control of the empire by executing his predecessor. But he was killed by his own army when they chose Dacius, one of Philip's subordinates, as their new leader and emperor. Outside of portraiture, beautiful, idealized likenesses persisted, echoes of the Greek culture. But Roman elements are present too. This figure represents a combination. In spite of his beauty, he stands in a pose of power. The cape surrounding his shoulders and his gesture show his authoritative attitude. Portrait of a Roman is a Roman bronze from the Republican period. This era dates from the 5th century BC to the collapse of the Republic after the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. Originally, the sculpture's eyes would have been filled with precious stones. The portrait reveals the state of mind of the subject, the veil of resigned sadness. In this graceful Roman goddess, you see the influence of 2 Greek sculptors. Her shifted weight and resulting fluid pose that creates the illusion of movement shows the influence of the Greek sculptor Polykleitos. Her classic elongated proportions follow the theories of the Greek sculptor Praxiteles. But portraits of real people had irregular features. A young woman of Syrian descent is considered a masterpiece of Roman portraiture. The warrior was a much heralded and worshipped figure in Roman society. He is shown as young, strong, and prepared for battle in his helmet. Unlike portraits of the emperors, his countenance displays no trace of doubt. Upon his shoulders rested the burden of enforcing the continuation of the empire in a hostile world. As the representative of so many, he is idealized. Roman sculptors of marble did not sign their works, and their names are unknown to us. Some of them may have been Greek slaves brought to Rome for their artistic talents. But no matter who they actually were, they combined the Greek tradition, now in service to Roman values, in this case, the power of the emperor. From the 2nd century AD comes this marble bust of the Emperor Lucius Verus. He was co-ruler with Marcus Aurelius. This emperor was not known to have been preoccupied with affairs of state. He preferred amusement. The details of his imperial clothing and breastplate add embellishment to the portrait. He is remembered for the attention he paid to his appearance. He powdered his hair with golden sand. The decline of the empire is reflected in Roman portraiture. Indeed, the colonies revolted, the empire was divided, and rule became anarchy. By the 5th century AD, barbarians had overrun nearly all that was Rome. But the splendid art and ideas of ancient Greece and Rome lived on, as they live on today, an inexhaustible source of inspiration.